A Giants podcast for Giants fans
by Giants fans.
From the offseason through the wins and the losses, it's time to take one Giant step.
Welcome on inside One Giant Step. I can officially declare this March. We've made it to March, Giants fans, and we've made it to free agency, of which Bryce and I will be ready to roll next week to recap whatever the hell the Giants, that means comings and goings, because there's going to be goings, there's going to be comings. And we will be recapping that. I know Bryce has now just made a twitchy face and wondering what the hell I'm talking about. Bryce, how the hell are you? Happy March, buddy.
What's up, Shaun? I'm doing extremely well. The Knicks just had a pretty good win. The win of the year. Shaun was probably pissed. Shaun probably didn't even watch. He doesn't care about the Knicks.
First of all, 1 o'clock, ABC.
He's a box score watcher. He's
box score watcher.
He looks at the box score the next day, and then he talks about the Knicks on WFAN, acting like he knows anything about the team.
That's what you think, huh? Well,
Who's the MVP of that game?
Mikal Bridges.
All right. You saw my tweet?
No, I watched the game on ABC like the rest of America
because
I was curious. Full disclosure, I mean, it's Victor Wembanyama. I mean, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's watch the Knicks and Spurs. We, of course, remember how that Cup final went down. So, yeah, we're locked in. But nice joke. You tried to get one past the goalie there a couple minutes in. Didn't work for you. Did I see your tweet, by the way? You got some ego on you. No, I did not see your tweet.
I don't think you ever see my tweets. You might have seen one of my TikToks. It went viral. I actually did pretty well. I got like 70,000 views on a TikTok.
What was it about?
Brunson. I at that point, there was like a lack of criticism about Jalen Brunson. It was more like, all right, let's criticize everyone else besides him, even though he's having his worst year of his Knicks career. He's terrible. He's averaging 23 points in the last 25 or so games on terrible splits from the field, 57% true shooting percentage. It's not good. And I actually got some good feedback on that. A lot of people agree.
Is that
surprisingly?
So?
Yeah,
is that so?
It was apparently a unique take. So there you go.
Well, One Giant Step, listeners, if you're a Knicks fan, check out Bryce Gelman for all his Knicks coverage. Nobody, and I mean
and
nobody.
One Giant Step, and one. We do One Giant Step clips on. I post them on my TikTok.
Yeah, Bryce, no kidding. I mean, we're here on One Giant Step, so I'm assuming they already know that about you. But I'm saying if they further want to follow...
I post the clips. If you guys want to see shorter form One Giant Step content, you could also check out my TikTok.
There you go. Bryce is all over it. Bryce all over. Nobody loves patting himself on the back more than him, and that includes me, which is just unbelievable. We might be able to pat him on the back in a little bit, but let's just talk about this, Bryce, before we kind of get into what's to come, what's to expect. I'll tell you right now. We did a whole thing on, the 5 Giants we want back, the 5 positions of need. If you didn't see any or hear any of those last 2 episodes, I highly encourage you to go back, download, check those out as well. They were kind of free agency primers. This is more of a, what went down at the combine, what's to come kind of deal episode. So this is going to be very sports radio-ish, but that's fine. There was a lot of rumors and stuff around the combine. So I think this is a good time for us as the 2 talking heads here on One Giant Step to go over them. Again, if you're on the WFAN YouTube page, welcome aboard. If you're anywhere you're getting your podcast, welcome aboard. Thank you as always. Bryce, I want to start with the running back rumor.
Yep.
I want to start with the running back rumor because I have thoughts. I have, in case my thoughts are wrong, some worries that go into it. But whether it's Jordan Renan, I saw it today, and we're recording this on Sunday, by the way, because I'm about to be away for a week. So you're going to kind of get not me until free agency starts. If something breaks Giant land, maybe Bryce has you, maybe not. Maybe we'll wait till I come back. But Dan Duggan, Jordan Renan, everybody seems to be sniffing around this. Giants are hot on the running back market. So before I even give your take here, Bryce, let me just kind of, for anybody who's not on social media, who maybe just listens to the podcast and wants to get their Giant news from us, I'll give you kind of what the buzz is. There's 2 forms of thought here. One, that the Giants at the 5th overall pick are extremely interested in Jeremiyah Love, the running back out of Notre Dame. Jeremiyah Love, to some, might be the best player in the draft, which is neither here nor there. We've heard this before with the Saquon Barkley draft, but this is the vibes it definitely gives off. And there is thought that John Harbaugh, after being with Derrick Henry, really loves him and he'd be a weapon and yada, yada, yada. I'll give my opinion on that in a moment. The other school of thought is that the Giants will be in on the free agency running back market, of which includes Kenneth Walker, who seems to be the high name, the Super Bowl MVP off of that. Those are the rumors out there. Don't shoot me for saying that, or don't celebrate me for saying that. Bryce and I will now give our opinions on that. I will just kind of tell you this. My early read is this smells like a smokescreen.
Yep.
If it's not, I will tell you worst case scenario, Bryce. I don't know where your thoughts lie on both the Kenneth Walker pursuit / the Jeremiyah Love at 5 pursuit. Where you at?
You've heard from this organization. You've heard from a lot of organizations that are rebuilding. We're going to pick the best player available, BPA. And in a lot of those cases, it's totally justified and warranted. In this situation, though, with all the talent that's on the board, and hear me out, like Jeremiyah Love might be a better prospect than Saquon. Like his measurables are all better. The 40 time, everything, broad jump, all of it. I say all that to say this. You could go best player available, but when you have a position group that's as loaded, in my opinion, as the Giants running back room, I just do not in my right mind think that that's the right decision at all. Like you have to consider your personnel sometimes. You can do best player available, but there are a bunch of other really solid guys who everything's subjective at the top of the draft. We're talking about the top 5 guys, one guy, another guy, and another guy. 3 different scouts could think one guy is better than the other 2. So I think that when you look at that, it's just like, all right, well, Love might be the best guy, but you have Thibodeaux. Look how hyped up all the Giants fans were. Look at how well they moved the ball with Cam Thibodeaux. I understand if you have your reservations about him coming off the dislocated ankle. I understand that. But you also have Tyrone Tracy, who's another serviceable running back. He's a great backup. Like I don't understand it. I mean, I would understand if it was a smoke screen, but dude, there's a lot of smoke here. There's a lot of smoke.
Okay. So let me get into this part, and then we'll talk about the free agency part in a second with Kenneth Walker. As far as Jeremiyah Love goes, all right. First and foremost, if the pick ends up being Jeremiyah Love, let's just play the world where this is all true. Okay, let's play out this fantasy for a second. If the pick is Jeremiyah Love, I have 2 problems with it. Number one, the fact that it was telegraphed this early in late February and early March that the Giants were that interested, and then it ends up being the actual pick would tell me, boy, in a world where we want to get away from leaks, how leaky is your building that the exact pick is the guy that everybody thought coming out of the combine at number 5? That actually would be a really, really bad sign if multiple reporters have this buzz and that ends up being it. That would give me some pause and go, wait a minute, John Harbaugh. You clean out what you can in this room and suddenly everybody knew exactly what you were doing in late February. So that would be a problem.
If it is true, like they have to go against themselves now. Like we can't.
Yeah, dude, because nobody should know that.
Yeah.
Nobody should know that you're that hot for Jeremiyah Love, where it's being realistic and if it's true. If it's true. The other part of it would be this. I am willing to accept that some Giants that we may love here now. Now, I for lack of a better term, I'm going to use the word love, even though we're talking about Jeremiyah Love. We love Cam Thibodeaux. I think a lot of us very much like Tyrone Tracy. There is a chance and there is a world, and I don't know whether this is true or not, where John Harbaugh simply isn't in love with our running back room as much as we are as Giant fans. He's allowed not to be in love with the room. He's allowed to look at the roster and think that there are certain areas that aren't as good as we thought, or maybe areas that are worse than we thought, or maybe areas that are better than we thought, because it's all in his eyeballs, his prism. And remember, this is his show now, not Joe Shane's show. And I have to be willing to be comfortable with that. Hey, I trust you as a football mind. However, even with all of that being said, Bryce, I know that there are a million things that could happen between now and then as far as adding a 3rd-round pick or adding like an extra top 100 pick. For the Giants only to have a 1st-round pick, a 2nd-round pick, and then nothing till the 4th round, with all the holes they have, to turn around and spend one on a running back at 5th overall, it just gives me Saquon Barkley vibes at number 2. I vehemently disagree. It doesn't mean that Jeremiyah Love won't be a great running back in the NFL. It doesn't mean he won't be one of the great players in the NFL. He could be Bijan Robinson and help the Giants out all he wants. But it just feels like a terrible allocation of a resource. And even if he is the best player by what margin at number 5?
Yeah.
Is he that much better than Carnell Tate, the wide receiver? If Caleb Downs is sitting there, what are we talking about?
It's 2026. What are we doing? I thought we were past this. I thought we were past considering taking a running back this early in the draft. I don't care how good he is. He could be 6'8", 230, and he could run a 4.2. Maybe that would go number 1. But like that's what we're talking about. We need a freak athlete. We need one of the. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. This guy might be looking like he's potentially the best football player of all time. Like that's the only justification of taking a guy that high up in the draft.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. Like I can't fathom that decision. And again, John Harbaugh could think whatever he wants. He's an amazing football mind, but like, dude, come on. Look at all these other guys. Like, we'll get to the Sonny Styleses and the Caleb Downs of the world and all those types of guys. I don't do it, man. Like, what are we doing? And we'll get further into this. And as time goes on, more and more rumors. But for right now, yikes.
So my theory, I don't think is outlandish. I would think a lot of people share my theory, which would be it's smokescreen season. Always is around the combine. Always is. JJ McCarthy was a smokescreen, right? Like, you hear a lot of different stuff that goes out there. And I think that the Giants, because of the fact that they don't have the 3rd round pick, I think for the fact that now they're picking 5th overall and feel like they have some holes, I do think they want to get more liquid capital. And the way to do that in an NFL draft is typically to find some great players other teams are going to be hot and heavy for in their spot and hope you could bait them into giving you something to move up. Case in point, the Rams and Falcons a year ago, where the Rams were sitting there in the 1st round and the Falcons used a future first and swap first to go up and get the pass rusher they wanted. And it seemed like an idiotic trade, but they found an idiot. The Texans, after getting C.J. Stroud 2nd overall, they still didn't want to lose Will Anderson. They go make a trade with the Arizona Cardinals. I think it was the Cardinals, Bryce. And they came up and they had a 2nd top 5 pick and they took Will Anderson. So not all trade ups in drafts are about the quarterback position. You could find teams to do this. So I said to say this. The 2 teams we heard tied the most to Jeremiyah Love in terms of using him in a high-end first-round pick were the Chiefs, who are never picking top 10, and that would make all the sense in the world, right? They're the kind of team that you expect to be great and go right back, all right? And the Saints, look, I mean, I don't get it from a Saints perspective if they love them, but these teams, I think, are picking 8 and 9 or 7 and 9. So
I think Chiefs are 8, I believe.
Okay.
Or it might be 9. It might be 9.
Might be 9. The Saints might be 8, whatever it is. If your thought for the Giants is make them think we're taking Jeremiyah Love. Now, the backfire could be they leapfrog you and they make the trade with the Cardinals or whoever because they're afraid you're going to take Jeremiyah Love.
Yeah, they're 9. They're 9.
Right.
New Orleans is 8. That might
be
so
hear this out. This is why I think it's a smokescreen. Because 2 things could happen. The Giants could be looking at it from, we like a player on defense that we think the Cardinals right in front of us are going to take, or maybe the Titans are going to take. And therefore, we would rather punk the Chiefs or Saints into trading up with those teams that aren't going to trade up with us, have them trade back, we get the player we want, and they could go take their running back high because they think we're taking the running back. Or everything has a price. They think we like the running back. Those teams don't agree to trade with them. They pick up the phone and call us because they don't want us taking Jeremiyah Love, and they offer us a deal we can't say no to. Then in reality, we get the player we think we're going to get at 8 or 9 anyway. I think that's what's going on here. Now,
don't guarantee that. It's it's obviously a risk.
It's a game.
Major risk.
It's a game. And nothing's stopping the Chiefs or Saints from going, we don't believe you. Go ahead, sit there and take Jeremiyah Love. They could say that. We don't believe you. Every team is going to throw smoke screens out. Every team plays the game. It's like a poker game. It's a game of bluff. What do you believe and what don't you believe? I think that this is the Giants' chance of bluff. No team may bite on it, and this may come or go, and we could go back and laugh at it. Now, why I think Kenneth Walker ties into this. I think it asks a lot for anybody to look at the Giants and really go, man, with Cam Scadaboo, Tyron True, you really going to take a running back at 5? Really? Really? I don't believe it. So like I just said, that game of bluff, well, how do you make a team believe it? You heavily pursue Kenneth Walker. You don't ultimately get him because you monitor the market enough to go, we're going to offer him this. We're going to offer him enough to look serious, but we know that this team's coming in. These GMs and they've networked enough. They know what teams are going to be in. And if we find out that Kenneth Walker either agrees to go back to Seattle or signs a deal with somebody else, let's just call it the Arizona, somebody like that, right? If we think that's going to happen, but the Giants end up being like, hey, the Giants were in on this till the end, well, then that would let a team like the Chiefs know, let's say, man,
that's a good point.
They did make an offer to Kenneth Walker.
Huh.
And I think this is 3D chess here. I think Kenneth Walker is the setup play to make people think you're really taking Jeremiyah Love, to get people to really believe you're willing to do it, to bite on a trade.
I like that. I think that's a good theory. And it makes
I'm not
sense
always an idiot, Bryce. I've thought this out long.
Listen, I'm not the one who says that. It's everyone else. It's all the Jets fans and all the Mets fans, not me. No, I mean, listen, I think that that's extremely plausible. The idea, though, that if this is true, let me play devil's advocate, that they try to give Kenneth Walker a $10 million contract a year. Like, I consider jumping off my balcony. Like, if they're going to pay $10 million a year,
just keep Devin Singletary for $5 million. I'm sorry. Just keep Devin Singletary. At that point, don't cut Devin Singletary. But Bryce, if you're going to cut him, only to double the salary to Kenneth Walker.
No, I agree. Most
and
definitely.
if you take Jeremiyah Love at 5,
Dead
you know
weight.
what else, man? You can't take Jeremiyah Love and then go, yeah, by the way, we're still a running back by committee. He's got to be the bell cow to justify the 5th overall pick.
100%.
So
what do you do as Scatterboy? What are you going to completely relegate him to backup status? No,
right. He's going to get
Everyone
5
knows
touches a
he's
game.
got the talent, like in the backfield in terms of as a pass catcher and as a 3-down running back.
It just doesn't fundamentally make sense. I'm going to give you two. This is where we'll do the hot take portion of the program for me, Bryce, before we kind of flip to talk about something you've been talking about for years. This is the hot take portion of the program. I could make the case that the Giants in this draft taking Jeremiyah Love at 5th overall is actually worse than taking Saquon at 2nd overall. When you consider the fact that they at least have answers at the position right now.
Yeah.
Like Saquon, they didn't have like we were talking about Orleans Darkwa. They didn't have a strong answer at running back. As much as I hated the pick and disagree with the pick, at least you can make the case like, dude, we really thought he was the best player, Hall of Fame running back, and they didn't have a running back anyway. Not only do you have other positions you need to fill at 5th overall, but you also have what would be a room of strength. I mean, the team, and I know Jackson Dart played a part in this, was 5th in the league in rushing last year. How much better are you getting by adding Jeremiyah Love to that position? Yeah. So I could make that case.
Maybe they look at the idea of having like a Jahmyr Gibbs. Who was the MVP of that game? Lions, Giants, maybe Jameis, but the Lions don't win that game without Jahmyr Gibbs.
Okay,
they don't win that game without Jahmyr Gibbs, and I see the flip side of that because like you've got 3 more years of him, 2 more years of his contract, then you franchise tag him. Like, what, you gonna sign him after?
They also don't win the game without Aiden Hutchinson. They don't win the game without Amon-Ra St. Brown. They won't win the game without Dan Campbell. They don't win the game without Jack Campbell.
I don't know.
Go down the lines. They got
Gibbs. It was Gibbs.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Gibbs is set up by everything else on the team. And the Lions are also a better roster that can have Jahmyr Gibbs. Okay.
But at the time they didn't have that talent. Like Amon-Ra St. Brown was just coming into his own. They didn't have Laporta. There were a bunch of other guys that, hadn't really come into their own. Jared Goff, they went 9-7-1. But the idea of like, all right, well, now we're gonna draft Jahmyr Gibbs 14th overall, whatever it was. Like they're like, what the hell is going on here? But 14 is different than 5. And they took Bijan 7, right, that year. So like that's the comparison. But they look at, all right, well, his measurables are all better than Bijan.
Yep.
But either way, like look at them right now. Have the Falcons done anything?
Nope. So the other hot take I have with this would be this. Let's just say the draft unfolds, free agency unfolds. And again, I am allowed to change my opinion based on, I have no idea really what they end up doing in free agency. But if you were to tell me 2 months ago, you can hire John Harbaugh, but John Harbaugh is using the 5th overall pick on a running back like Jeremiyah Love, or you could hire Kevin Stefanski and he's taking a defensive player like Caleb Downs, you might have been able to sway me. And you know how much I was high on Stefanski anyway, that I would have been against the Harbaugh hire. Like this would scream to me, what the hell what old man stuff are you doing here, taking a running back 5th? I'm just telling you. If you were to tell me that's going to happen.
Second he comes to the Giants, he becomes the epitome of the New York Giants. Makes a stupid decision.
Stupid decisions. Again, I think a lot of this is smoke. I do. And I think that you have reporters. Remember this, the reporters that are getting the info, they might be getting the info from agents. Some of the leaks inside the Giants building are likely gone. Kevin Abrams, not there. Let's just call it like it is, right? This could be a real test to some of these beat reporters on some of the new networking they've done that it blows up in their face and they're way off on this. Yep. So we'll see. But if the Giants come close to getting Kenneth Walker but never actually do, just keep in mind my theory. That's all I'm saying. Now, as far as the other big rumor that's around the Giants, and something that we've tackled on One Giant Step for a long time, and that's the future of Kayvon Thibodeaux. He's come up in trade rumors, and he will carry a $13 million cap hit. We know where Bryce has stood on this. If you don't, maybe you're a new listener, you don't know the track record of this. Bryce has been on team trade Kayvon for over a year. I've been on team I like him. Now, I'm going to remake my case, but also tell you why I think this both makes sense, doesn't make sense, and let's see where Bryce is kind of recalibrated on this. I think that Kayvon Thibodeaux gets severely punished for being the 5th overall pick, and people lose sight that he is actually a very good football player. He's just not a great player for the 5th overall pick. Very similar to the way Leonard Williams didn't pan out for the Jets in terms of where they drafted him in the top 5, But you know that Leonard Williams is a very good football player. Hell, the Seahawks now know this too. I think that Kayvon, when he plays on good teams with a lead like he did in 2022, was a pretty good tier offer as far as closing games. And unfortunately, I don't think he's a game wrecker like Myles Garrett when a team stinks. I think he's a guy. OC was a lot like this too on good teams where he would just be really good with leads and go have strip sacks and fumbles. I think, though, I understand when you take Abdul Carter and you have big money paid to Brian Burns, that paying $13 million on a salary this year to Kayvon Thibodeaux may be tough to stomach as a third pass rusher. I get that. But I would also say you're a Brian Burns or Abdul Carter injury away from going, oh my God, how thin are we at the pass rush position? I guess it's just Chauncey Golston here. I like having a wave of pass rushers. I grew up that way. I grew up with, I guess not even grow up, by the time I was in high school, it's OC and Tuck and Strahan. And then Strahan's gone and it's Kiwanuka and OC and Tuck. And then it's Jason Pierre-Paul with Tuck. Like there was always a threesome, for lack of a better term, that would come at you in waves. And that is what I envisioned when Abdul Carter got taken last year. And I also envisioned that with the high cap space that the Giants have in 27 and 28, you could structure Kayvon's deal out that by the time Abdul Carter is ready to get paid, you can make a decision on either Burns or Thibodeaux on who is here and who's not. However, that being said, I am not dumping Kayvon Thibodeaux because I'm shedding $13 million of salary. You don't need to do that for a 4th-round pick. This would have to be a back end of the 2 or a high 3 for me to even start there. But I am way more interested and way more accepting the trade in Kayvon in a deal that strengthens up another weakness for me, a la what the Jets just did, trading Jermaine Johnson for Tavondre Sweat to get themselves a nose tackle. They're going to probably turn around and draft Jermaine Johnson's replacement in the draft anyway with that 2nd overall pick. We've heard the name Tremaine Edmonds. Obviously, this the middle linebacker that used to be with Buffalo. He's only, 28 years old. I could get 3 good years out of Edmonds. And I also feel like the Giants are a very young team where I would be welcoming to that leadership. A guy who could stop the run, play linebacker. There's another rumor that the Lions may be shopping Sam Laporta and also looking for pass rush help outside of Aiden Hutchinson. You tell me I'm getting that. Theo Johnson's not stopping me from adding Sam Laporta.
They'd love Kayvon.
Yeah.
I
think that's a deal. Like you tell me that's the other weapon here for the New York Giants this offseason. I would be very interested in that. So I'm not anti-trading Kayvon where I was fully anti earlier, but it's also got to be about the right deal. If this is a mere, we got a 4th-round pick and we're dumping $13 million salary, I'm not going to be happy with it, Bryce. So take it away. You've been team trade Kayvon for a while. Where are you standing on the latest rumors with Kayvon Thibodeaux?
I mean, I'm in the exact same spot. I think you need enough here. Like there's a certain fine line that another team needs to meet. Like I'm 100% with you. Late 2nd-round pick, early 3rd-round pick. My biggest concern, Shaun, is they don't trade him. They hold on to him. And then they hear after the season that his representatives are asking for 20 to 25, maybe even more $1 million a year. And at that point, you didn't trade him. You didn't get anything. How many times have we seen the Giants do this over the last 2 to 3 years? Xavier McKinney, Saquon, the list goes on and on and on. They cannot afford to do that again. So if you take the 3rd-round pick now, if you know that Kayvon is going to ask for an exorbitant amount of money that you don't think he's worth, and that's where I'm at. If he comes back to you, like let's just say, okay, hey, Kayvon, we're thinking about extending you. Don't believe the rumors. Don't believe any of that. We're thinking about extending you. Where do you sit right now? How much money do you think you're worth? And if he comes in $15 million, congrats. You're a Giant for the next 4 to 5 years. We'll take that. That's not the case. Yeah, I don't need to speak to his agent to know that he's not asking for $15 million. Kayvon Thibodeaux, the number 5 overall pick in the 2022 draft, is asking for at least $20 to $25 billion. Maybe we're getting towards $30 million with how much the cap is raising.
Yeah. Okay. So now here's the backup on this. And I thought this was a brilliant, brilliant point on Twitter. See, I see some people's tweets by Dan Schneier from Big Blue Banter, another Giants podcast and CBS Sports. He does a good job, Dan. I mean, could fly off the handle sometimes a little too analytically, but I like Dan. I think he nailed this point. The Giants need to be proactive in what you're talking about, Bryce. So if the Giants do shop around Kayvon, this isn't worth it. There's a world, because again, the Giants can manipulate. This is where Dawn Aponte's going to have to come in with the high cap numbers of 27 and 28. They can inflate numbers in 27 and 28 and lower the cap numbers in 2026 where they don't need Kayvon's contract off the books. And if they choose to hold on to Kayvon and go kind of all in for this year and test what Kayvon's value is going to be, it's a very simple solution.
Yeah.
You go more all in on free agency than you were planning this year in terms of make it like a 2-year plan in 1 year. You're going to add Edmonds or whatever if he gets cut. You want to add a couple of old linemen here. Maybe that involves paying Wandell, maybe not. Maybe it's paying Romeo Dobbs. Like you load up and you push the cap numbers. Then you treat next offseason like you're not going to be very active in free agency because you've already kind of spent for next year's free agency this year. And when you do that, Kayvon can then seek his if Kayvon's seeking $20 million a year and is going to get it, it means he also was really good this year. Okay, keep that in mind. Which means what?
If he's really good this year, he's going to ask for 25, 30.
This is my point.
I think he's at 20 right now.
I don't know about that yet because he's been injured the last year. Maybe, but just
his representatives, 100%.
But you could ask for what you want. It's what you actually get. It's another story.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Because if he has a third straight injury plagued year, Bryce, he's not getting $20 million a year. My point is, if he's asking for that and going to get it, the Giants were probably good this year because Kayvon had a good year. Okay, but when you do that, we know what the good teams do. The teams like the Ravens used to do. Teams like the Eagles do. They play the comp pick game. Mm-hmm. So the way the comp picks work, and some of you may know this and may be wanting to hit fast forward you, but those of you don't. Certain number of your own unrestricted free agents go into the hopper. If you are not signing more or the same as free agents into your organization as you're losing, you get compensatory picks. And there's a formula to it. Essentially, if the Giants are not highly active in free agency next year and Kayvon Thibodeaux gets a deal as an unrestricted free agent elsewhere, the likelihood is the Giants will receive, wait for it, a third-round pick in compensatory feel for this. Now, we call it the comp pick game. Teams like the Ravens or Eagles who are very good at drafting and churning out talent, when they decide that they have enough talent in their own system to not be active in free agency and they lose certain guys because they've drafted so well they can't sign everybody, they end up restocking the cupboard with these comp picks that end up being in the third round. They draft guys, they plug, and they grow. And it's how the Eagles have grown. It's how the Ravens have grown. And if you're the Giants and you go more all in on free agency and you allow yourself next year to go, now we're going to pull back the reins. We're not going to be as active in free agency because you're more active this year. You can get that same third-round pick you were going to get for Kayvon this year, next year.
It's later, but yeah, I understand.
Okay, but it's probably still a top 100 pick is the point.
Yeah.
So I think they could do that. Now, that's going to take wherewithal. That's going to be understanding the market. That's going to be going, we don't like what we're getting for Kayvon. It feels like we're dumping him just to dump him. So now we're going to put the pedal to the metal. We're going to sign this guy at guard. We're going to bring in Jermaine Illuminor back at tackle and do this and do that. So that's where they're at. But keep an eye on Kayvon. Hell, you might hit play on this podcast.
Yeah.
And I am away on vacation and Kayvon's already been traded. Like, it could be that. Or we wake up and Kayvon's on the opening day roster. I think
let me say, I'm going to clarify something. If something happens, I'll be firing this up on my own.
I appreciate that.
Waiting for Shaun to get back.
That's
he's going to be miserable at Disney, and I'm going to be sitting here, hopefully exhilarated over the Giants trading Kayvon Thibodeaux. If it's that, if something else, terrific.
I hope I'm not. And let me wrap with this before we get to next week. I owe this to my wife and my kids. They are great sports. I am dying to take a vacation. I know not everybody can afford them every year and all of that, but this is something, my kids very much look forward to. It's the first time as a dad I get to take my kids to Disney World. So I'm looking forward to it. I have strategically picked this week, knowing that where I do this, I do Talking Giants, and of course my work at WFAN. I know that we don't really take off during football season. You're not supposed to, except for the holidays. You can, but you know what I mean? It's you want to be there for the listener. And for these shows and these podcasts that I do around the New York Giants, I deemed it important to be back for free agency. I am flying home when the legal tampering period starts. I'm giving myself, I'm giving myself a couple hours before that night where I plan on doing both this. And I have no problem saying Talking Giants as well that Monday night after I'm home from Disney to kind of see, all right, what did the Giants do during legal tampering? It could be nothing. It could be something. And I want to be back for that. If something breaks Giants-wise, in the 6 days, I am basically just shutting it down. I can't help that, but I'm glad that Bryce will have you here, which is why you should download and subscribe to One Giant Step everywhere podcasts are available. Bryce will be there for you. They trade Kayvon, Bryce will be there for you. Don't get in my mentions and go, where are you, fat tub of goo? I'm taking my family on a vacation.
You still got people calling you that kind of stuff? Come on.
Well, they're better now.
I think it's stopped. Definitely.
It stopped. I can't help that. You got to understand, man, as a dad, I'm getting 6 days away before free agency starts. I don't know what to tell you. All right. But you guys have been there, and I appreciate that you're still there. Bryce will be there if something breaks, including a Kayvon trade. If not, I will be with you and Bryce the night. I guess Tuesday you'll wake up to a little content. That's my hope. That's my hope. Things could change. I get caught in flight delays. I hope not. But my hope is to deliver you a show at some point then, because I'm hoping the Giants do something in legal tampering to start. We know how that usually goes. So at Bryce Gelman, Twitter X, check him out there. The TikTok, what's your TikTok?
At Bryce Gelman.
At Bryce Gelman. At Shaun Morash, Twitter and X. Let's go Giants. We'll see you when free agency starts. I'm off to the happiest place on earth where I hope I'm not miserable.
Enjoy Disney, Shaun.
Thanks, buddy.
Enjoy.
Take care.